I know my posts have been recent lately and a lot more frequent, but it's just because I'm going to lose internet soon maybe at my place, and I do want to put out as much videos as possible, so I'm going to be ranking the top 10 Total Drama Generation 1 contestants from Total Drama My Ways based on their average placement, how many wins and challenges they had, how many times they were a target for elimination, and how many times they made merge. I'll explain how I am basing these stats. So when I say wins, I mean challenge wins or safeties from auto elimination. Let's use Duncan as an example. In Total Drama Island, Duncan has 2 wins added to his win stat due to the fact he was saved from 2 auto eliminations from That's Off the Chain in episode 19 of TDI and Hook, Line, and Screamer from episode 20 of TDI. And now let's do average placements. Because I'm lazy as heck, I only just averaged it out to the first whole number I've seen, so Duncan's placement may be different than what the average calculator you have might say, but yeah. So now, we're going to just say one thing. Only contestants who made the merge will count because anyone who did make the merge probably shouldn't qualify at all. And as a disclaimer, I know that she did make merge, but Sierra will not be featured as she was only in 1 season and got 4th place, thus I cannot really count that as an average placement. I will be mentioning some honorable mentions nearing the end of the video, and I also do want to point out one more thing. My bias will have nothing to do with the list. This list is purely based on stuff. And because there's only merge here, sorry Cody fans. Yeah, I know I'm gonna get a mix of comments saying, oh, why isn't she higher on the list, or why is she on the list at all? But let me take a quick explanation real quick. Lindsay was pretty good in Island. Despite the fact she was carried by Heather's manipulation and was, I guess, affected by her plot armor until she was eliminated. Aside from that, she probably would have made it farther than Heather, and probably Duncan in the original season if she wasn't plot armored by it. I loved Lindsay's cursing scene, which is why I had her get eliminated in Total Drama Island to begin with. But her, reign through action is what had her win from me. But the reason she's this low on the list is she's the only one on this list who doesn't have a top 10 place average. But she's on this list because she plays, strong somehow. She dominated action and she's always nice to everyone. And she always finds a place in her heart to care for others. Even Heather. Or was that Beth I'm thinking of? I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen action. Yeah, moving on. Some people are probably thinking, wait, I thought he was a runner-up. Why is he higher than the person he lost to in the final? Well, yes, he did actually lose to Lindsay in the final due to the votes. I still think if it came down to just the challenge, I think Harold might have won. Harold does seem mostly smart, so he could have made inferences about the cast, and he spent some time in the trailers with all of them, so he could have just made an inference on that as well. But also, Harold is smart and he is a true team player. The only reason he's this low on the list is he doesn't have many challenge wins, also from the fact he did just get into a top 10 placement average. Aside from that, he's also on this list because he was able to make the final and actually outlast the one competitor who I pretty much thought no one could beat back in the day, Duncan. Now, I know I could have had Harold eliminated earlier, but honestly, he deserved to at least make it far in action. Moving on. With an 8th place average, she definitely deserves a spot on this list, or at least should have been a candidate. And she did end up making the top 10 as, while yes, she was not the best average compared to who we'll see later on in the list. She did play the game well most of the time. The way she was manipulated by Alejandro easy despite the fact she saw us right through Heather's schemes in Island is kinda what brought her down for me. And also, I felt her character development was pretty solid still, which is kinda why I still had that happen. But, hey, at least Leshawna did well. And also, I could have just had her make the final in Total Drama Island. Both Bridgette and Duncan were robbed along with Leshawna, and I honestly like Leshawna less than both Bridgette and Duncan. So, while yes, Leshawna is definitely a worthy candidate to win, and I have seen Total Drama My Ways of her winning, she just wasn't a winner in my eyes. And yeah, I'm moving on because I'm out of time. While yes, Gwen probably should be higher on the list, she averages out in 7th place due to her placement in Island, but she definitely would have gotten a lower average if I hadn't swapped hers and Courtney's eliminations in World Tour. Actually, they probably would have swapped places in this list altogether. Yes, Courtney's on this list, but she was in the finale. What do you expect? So, yeah, Gwen played the game pretty well. She made friends with everyone, and while yes, she has made some mistakes, those mistakes weren't exactly game costing. I mean, Duncan broke up with Courtney in My Way and then got with Gwen, so no one actually cheated on anyone. And also, Gwen tried to save Trent because she felt bad for him in My Way, which I felt she probably should have done in the actual show. Her character development wasn't deserved, but in my eyes, she definitely didn't deserve to win a season. That's all I'm going to say. And I know some people are going to be mad. I'm also going to bring up the fact, yes, I know her episode count. I will. Yeah, the only reason Owen is on this list at all, I think, is because I had to make it to the final 4 in Total Drama Island My Way. He probably will be higher on the list, but he didn't return in action in My Way, so. And he was also eliminated where Noah was in World Tour. But can I just say, Owen was an enjoyable character and definitely deserved to make it far in a few seasons. The only reason I explained this in a comment where someone was talking about how they felt bad for Harold after what happened to Total Drama World Tour My Way, but can I be honest? All the things I do happen for plot reasons and so people get entertained more. That's the only reason I had Owen out before Noah's, to see how Noah tried to deal with Alejandro after his only ally was gone. And honestly, Noah trying to ally with both Duncan and Tyler was a smart move on his part that I felt he would have made if Owen was eliminated before Noah. But Owen was an enjoyable character, and he was popular, and that's why he's on this list. He does well in the seasons. She was a finalist, so being on this list should at least be expected. And yes, I do know her stats, and they aren't as good as some of the other players, but she still does well in the seasons she competes in. It's just she gets screwed over. And also, yeah, I know, making out with Jeff probably would have been an issue, in the season later on, with World Tour, if Jeff was in World Tour, which is why I didn't have, Jeff in World Tour. But I also wanted to expand more on Bridgette and Duncan's friendship, which is the main base of why she's on the list. Bridgette knows how to make friends even with the worst people, or people who seem like they are just unfriendly and hateful towards others. And that, along with her chill personality and her love for animals, she honestly always could make it far in a season, just even if she gets manipulated. But I think the main reason she's this low is her average. That's all. Yeah, like I said, Courtney was going to be on this list because she was a finalist. I don't think you should expect anyone who is a finalist to not be on this list. But Courtney is only number 4 because, while yes, she was a finalist, she also didn't make it far at Island. Sorry, I'm going off this unscripted, so yeah. But along with the fact she actually did make it very far at Island and only returned for 2 episodes, she still played the game well. She built friendships. While she did make enemies, they were enemies with people who could already be eliminated, so she could get them out easy. Like, for example, Heather. A lot of people don't like her anyway. She knows who to make friends with and which enemies to make. And she learned how to be a better person after action and World Tour, pretty much, which is kind of why Courtney is. Well, yes, in looking at Alejandro's stats, you would think that he would score lower than Courtney. But it's the way he's able to swoon people over, even though it's obvious what he's doing, is what makes him a better player than Courtney. Courtney is way too temperamental and emotional. She lets her emotions get the better of her a lot of the time, and that could really cost her the game if she loses the challenge. Alejandro, however, uses emotions to his advantage and takes them and uses them as a weapon against others or against the emotions of the people he's taking advantage of. Sorry, I had to swallow some spit. Yeah, Alejandro is amazing at manipulating emotions, feelings, and making people turn against each other. And while I probably would have Mike on the Gen 2 list if I ever do decide to do that, this is Gen 1, and Alejandro so far is the best manipulator in the series. Moving on. Like I said at the beginning of the video, my bias has nothing to do with this. Well, with what I brought up about Alejandro earlier, it seems like he would be higher than Heather on this list. But really, everyone seems Heather would have weakened down after Island, due to the fact they all knew that she was shifty, so they would expect her to try to manipulate anyone again. And that's where you could lose instantly. Because with the Gen 2 cast and the Gen 3 cast, characters who haven't watched the seasons at all would probably be really dense to Heather's manipulation, or she could even manipulate characters like Lightning. Or she could manipulate characters like Max in order to think he's doing evil. Really, it's the fact that she could just surprise you at any moment, which is what makes her a strong competitor. I mean, I personally, if I could change my Total Drama Action my way, Heather would probably have made Merge in Total Drama Action, but we're moving on to honorable mentions who couldn't make the list. I'm not taking into account his placement in World Tour because that was quitting, not being voted out. But aside from that, Duncan played well in every season he was in. He made good friends, he made enemies who would probably be eliminated anyway, and he always knew how to sneak his way out of being eliminated. Just when you think you have him, he gets you eliminated. Duncan played well, he made friends, made great enemies, and he won the first season ever. He is the best Total Drama contestant from Generation 1. I may do Generation 2 soon.